Hello beautiful people, it's Sindafam. Welcome to the channel. Today we're back again with another video and still on the Blake Lively and the Justin Baldoni situation. We're going to be checking this video of a woman or a TikTok creator who is sharing why no one is going to ever work with Blake Lively again, which is quite interesting. And I also love your thoughts and your contribution in the comments below. Let's check it out.
Oh my god. Baldoni and the film's original editors were not even allowed to see Lively's cut, even if just to see how much of their work had been replaced. Then there are text messages. If you're just jumping into this, we're reading the actual complaint. We're not just taking what People Magazine or the gossip magazines are telling us what the lawsuit says. We're actually going into it and reading it. And also, no, Taylor Swift is not named directly. There are text messages shared that show Blake calling Taylor her dragon, which is just fucking weird. But anyway, these screenshots of this text message say, "We focus on what's best for the film. It will all work out." That's from Justin Baldoni. Then he also says, "Just curious if you guys have peeked at her cut and if anything has changed." Editor 2 says, "I've just been told that we are not permitted to look." Justin Baldoni, "The editors and directors isn't allowed to look at an actress's cut? Got it. Well, here we go. We will keep taking the high road." Still believing that in a sane and just world, despite Lively's continued extortion, an actress would never be allowed to usurp his legal right as a director to create and release his cut of the film, he assumed that Lively's edits would simply supplement his work. Thus, Baldoni continued refining his director's cut, but as Lively threatened to refuse to promote the film or approve any market-related material such as trailers, posters, or social media posts, a doomsday scenario for the major motion picture, Wayfarer and Baldoni were extorted into acquiescing to more and more demands. This included co-funding, together with Sony, a friends and family screening of her version of the film, which they had not approved or even seen, entirely at Lively's insistence. Ultimately, Lively replaced the film's editors with her own choice, an editor often used by Reynolds, and the film's editor had to be let go. She also replaced the film's award-winning composer with composers from Reynolds' recent project, even though the film's composer had already finished the score with an orchestra, which is costly. Sony supported Lively's demands and even enforced her dictate that the film's directors and editors not be permitted to view her cut. What the fuck, Sony? What the actual fuck? Wayfarer and Sony found themselves in the unprecedented and uncomfortable predicament of having two competing versions of the film, one made by the film's actual director and one made by a person with no contractual or creative right to even approach the editing bay, let alone make her own cut. But in light of Lively's threats to withhold promotion of the film, as well as a thinly veiled threat to end Baldoni's career with a slew of false accusations, the studio reluctantly agreed to do an additional audience test of both versions, again at Wayfarer and Sony's expense. The decision was made on the understanding that Lively had agreed with Sony that if Baldoni's director's cut tested higher, she would drop the matter and fully cooperate so that Baldoni could finish the film without further interference. Tellingly, in a side-by-side comparison of audience tests, Baldoni's cut scored significantly higher with key audience demographics. Then it has text messages circled. In our key demo, over 20% higher in the excellent rating, 15% higher than the definite recommended. That says it all. Editor 1. The only group she went up with in the excellent category was men, and they are absolutely not our audience, and that's only because she focused more on the movie, on herself, and men likely to look at Blake Lively. Men are such pigs. Not surprisingly, Lively reneged on her promise and insisted that her version be released to the public instead of Baldoni's cut as director, even claiming that the book author, Colleen Hoover, would refuse to promote the film as well if Lively's version was not chosen. Sony called to tell Wayfarer that neither Lively nor any of the cast would promote the film unless Lively's cut were used. Baldoni was forced to choose between killing the film and his own career by insisting on his own creative vision and rights, or putting a version out of the film that Baldoni knew should be so important to domestic violence survivors, even if it directly differed greatly from what it could have been. Baldoni reluctantly chose the latter and stood down, allowing Lively's version of the film to be released and promoted. Baldoni was essentially forced to fire himself as director and allow Lively to finish the film, knowing it was the only choice he could make to serve the greater good. 2 days later, Baldoni was hospitalized with a serious spine infection. Oof, and if you know me, I'm here to tell you what different parts of the body represent as well, because every physical manifestation that happens in your body has some kind of mental cause. And here in this book, it literally says, the probable cause of issues with the spine is because it is flexible support of life. And he doesn't feel supported. He doesn't feel supported at all. And that didn't help. Eventually, with the key demographic being the focus, Sony and Screen Engine, the audience testing company, convinced Lively to put back as much of Baldoni's edit as they possibly could. None of this was officially communicated to Baldoni, but whispers reached him that part of his cut made it back into the final release. Baldoni made sure to thank and apologize to his editors, whom Lively had caused to be let go. Baldoni, I'm so sorry. I love you and adore both of you and will fight for you and your recognition and sing your praises to the end. This will all work out. It's painful, but it will be okay, and we can rest knowingly that we have created a beautiful work of art together, and yet, I'm so sorry. And then it's a photo of him in the hospital with his wife kissing him. Um, then it's another screenshot with the editor number 1 circled. Holy cow, feel better. We didn't want to bug you during all of this, but our secret source has let us know that the new version they are previewing tomorrow has a bunch of our version put back in. We just have to keep it quiet because we want to keep our back channel open. Feel better. Get well soon. We love you, and all of this craziness, health and movie is going to work out. By June 2024, Lively was dictating much of the marketing for the film she had stolen from Baldoni and Wayfarer. Baldoni sends a text message, and the response is underlined, if Blake is so determined to handle the marketing on the movie, then just let her. Lively shamelessly removed Baldoni, the film's co-star, director, and executive producer who had championed this film for 5 years and whose company had co-funded the entire project. Out of all posters, trailers, and other promotional material, she continued to refuse to promote the film otherwise. This is Taylor Swift's friend. This is who she spends time with. You're like the 5 most people you spend the most time with. Take that into effect. Over Sony's objection, Lively insisted on screening her cut at Book Bonanza, Colleen Hoover's annual convention hosting authors and fans from around the world, an event that Baldoni had long been excited to attend, but Sony made it known that Wayfarer that, per Lively, Baldoni could not attend, notwithstanding the obvious promotional and PR risks. Lively appeared on the panel alongside Hoover and other cast members, icing out Baldoni from the critical event for his own film. He was not even allowed to review the final cut before it was shown to the world. What the actual fuck? Another screenshot of a text message with red underline, eye on the prize. Her attending BookCon is a win for the film, ultimately. Underline, you can be home with your family. She's kicked me, his response, she's kicked me out officially from the film now. She's finishing it all. I can't be involved. Music, sound, voice effects, everything. I'll make it through somehow. Just need to feel it. Then some more screenshots of text messages. They are showing it at Book Bonanza, the whole movie. Yep, hers. Wow. Justin, was supposed to be ours, and then I was uninvited. Whole thing is pretty cruel and intense. Editor 1, unfucking believable. Editor 1, still hope you love for at least stomach the cut that is going to be out in the world. Haven't seen it, can't yet, is his response. By July 2024, Baldoni was completely locked out of the film's final cut. By virtue of his role at Wayfarer, he was permitted to give notes as a studio. This only added insult to injury because he said he should not have been giving notes. He should have been editing the film. Despite his personal feelings, he redirected his thoughts to focus on one positive. The film, years in the making, was very close to being seen by the world, even if it was no longer his film. He prayed for the possibility that the film could still make an impact he intended when he first reached out to Colleen in 2019. And then there's more screenshots from the editors and him, underlined, and any updates on our little movie. Next underline from Justin, I have not seen the locked cut of the film. Evidently it's been worked on more and she's been mixing. I'm getting to give notes as a studio today, not as director. Very hard, but I'm okay. We made a beautiful baby together. The baby might not grow up exactly how we thought, but it's still beautiful. That's what I'm holding on to. Very proud of us. Editor number 1, the last I heard was that she was putting back a fair amount of her version, just not sure what that entailed or to what extent. I guess you'll find out. Then there's more screenshots. Lively was still not satisfied. She continued to extort Wayfarer, Baldoni, and even Sony, threatening to abandon her contractual obligation to promote the film or approve marketing materials if she wasn't awarded a producer credit. And though Wayfarer had refused long ago to accede to this request when it was made during initial negotiations, Wayfarer now had his back against the wall and again had to concede. This still wasn't enough. Lively later sought the coveted PGA mark on her producer credit, a certified designation license to the Producers Guild of America, to identify producers who have performed the majority of the producing work on a motion picture. Neither Baldoni nor Wayfarer believed Lively fulfilled this requisite criteria to earn this mark, but that did not matter to Lively. Well, I guess that producer credit was worth it because it doesn't seem like she's ever going to work again. That's the last time somebody will work with her.
Absolutely. With all of this going on, this is an eye opener. Obviously, nobody's going to work with her again. Nobody's going to want to have her in their film, their production anymore because, one, with everything we see so far, it's evident that she is not ready to come into your project to give you exactly what your project is supposed to be for. It's always going to be about her, her ego, people looking at her, not the goal of your movie or your project. So obviously, any sensible director that don't want that, except that is what the director wants, or want to make a documentary about her, fine. But other than that, if you just want your project to be killed, then you know what to do. But obviously, this is gonna be the end of her career. And also, this is an eye opener because, one, we said this before. I think we covered it in previous videos past. Talk about, she is not the only person working in this. There are orchestrators working in this, and we already know who or where all of this is coming from. Remember the dragons, and you benefit, or is mutual kind of language where I have them for better or worse, but in this case for better. And you know all that jazz. So obviously, I want to believe also see the handwork of the dragons in here. Let me know what you think.
Okay, we have the lawyer statements. I'm going to read them. I did go to a couple different I went to the Independent, and then I went to ABC News to get like a real, to not get a People magazine or some other statement. I think I looked at the Wrap too. Okay, this was from the Independent. It says Blake Lively responds to abuser Justin Baldoni's countersuit, calling it age-old story. What a This obviously doesn't seem like it's an unbiased opinion. Lively's lawyer spoke out. The latest lawsuit from Justin Baldoni, Wayfarer Studios, and its associates is another chapter in the abuser playbook. This is an age-old story. A woman speaks up with concrete evidence of sexual harassment and retaliation, and the abuser attempts to turn the tables on the victim. This is what experts call DARVO, deny attack, reverse victim offender. Lively's legal team told the Independent in a statement. I think this is a chapter. This is an entire fucking part, like a J.R.R. Tolkien book from the Narcissist playbook. Because, like, are you kidding me? Okay, moving on. I think this is from The Wrap. Blake Lively's legal team calls Justin Baldoni's $400 million lawsuit desperate. Their response to sexual harassment allegations, she wanted it, it's her fault, the statement noted. Their justification for why this happened to her: look what she was wearing. In short, while the victim focuses on the abuser focuses on the victim. The strategy of attacking the woman is desperate. It does not refute the evidence in Ms. Lively's complaint, and it will fail. I don't think she read the complaint. Following Baldoni Thursday's filing, his lawyer Brian Friedman, what's up, Brian? Our boy Brian, told The Wrap in part, the lawsuit is a legal action based on an overwhelming amount of untampered evidence. Sorry, my little card is there. My untampered evidence detailing Blake Lively and her team's duplicitous approach, is that what that says? To destroy Justin Baldoni, his team, and their respective companies. The little comment is above it right now, and I can't move it till after I record. By disseminating grossly edited, unsubstantiated, new and doctored information to the media. Man, we saw the text. We saw how they were doctored. Let's not forget Ms. Lively and her team attempted to bulldoze reputations and livelihoods for heinous, selfish reasons through their own dangerous manipulation of the media before taking any actual legal action. The complaint continued. We know the truth, and now the public does too. I mean, I don't think that I think that people who are actually domestic violence survivors should be really pissed off that this is what they're doing. That this is the card they've decided to play. Like, you're still playing this card? Really? What do you think about that statement? I can't wait for y'all to make me laugh in the comments, because y'all are freaking hysterical. Like, y'all are funny as fuck.
Exactly. This is from the narcissist playbook. This is how the narcissists behave. They inflict pain on you, then they come to tell you, oh, you are the reason, or it's because of you. They inflict pain on you. And if, let's say, for example, something goes bad, then they flip it back on at you to say, oh, you see this happened. It is because of you. That is how narcissists behave. They flip the script and make you feel guilty, or make it seem like it is your fault. This is the narcissist type, like, pattern. And obviously, I'm glad all of this is coming to light, or is playing out, because nobody's gonna work with this type of individual again. And it's just so sad, because this is also rubbing off on her husband's career. Because remember the dragons, right? Okay.
This is another take on the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni lawsuit saga. In particular, another societal issue that I don't hear anybody talking about pertaining to what's unfolding. The movie and the book were about a societal issue of DV. What's happening to Blake Lively, that we are all sadly witnessing, is the societal issue of poor parenting. Because we're seeing what happens when you don't teach your kids that you treat the janitor like you would treat the CEO. And this is the example. Martha Stewart interviews Blake Lively, a lower level person compared to Martha Stewart, a podcaster, interviews Blake Lively. They both compliment her on her baby bump in different points in time. The response that Martha Stewart gets when she compliments Blake Lively's baby bump is night and day compared to the way she treats and degrades this poor podcaster on her compliments of her baby bump. And so we see the two sides of Blake Lively. The side that is experienced by the people she thinks are better than her or have more pull than her that are going to elevate her. And then the way that she treats people who she views as beneath her that can't serve her or help her elevate herself. And so it is of no surprise that there's co-stars and producers coming out saying, you know, we stand with Blake Lively. She's a pleasure to work with. Yeah, I'm not surprised. You have something to give her. You are of a higher status. So of course you're experiencing the same side Martha Stewart got to experience. However, there's a whole nother side of people who are experiencing Blake Lively and the version of her that just has so little regard for anybody that's beneath her, that's just not going to help elevate her. If she can't get anything from you, she's just going to treat you poorly. And it's evident in this interview with Martha Stewart and then the podcaster, the way they both complimented her. And we can see night and day. I mean, I'm still shocked at how the world can see these two interviews and see the two different sides of Blake Lively. There's nothing else that can show us her two different sides of these two different interviews. And I hope one of you, maybe Perez Hilton can do it. I don't have the time, but you know, if you could side by side put both interviews for comparison, you know, first the one with Martha Stewart and then that poor podcaster, that would be phenomenal. But moving on. So this is the example of bad parenting, because that's what your parents are supposed to teach you. They're supposed to teach you, you treat people with respect, whether you can get something from them or not, whether they can elevate you or not, whether they hold, you know, a high level of importance or not. And then we look at the level of maturity in these alleged text messages she sent to Justin Baldoni. What 36 or 37-year-old do you know will refer and think of her husband as a dragon and her best friend as a dragon? I mean, I can't. And in the workplace, I would understand you getting salty with your sister, you know, texting your mom, you know, and getting salty, and, you know, parents and sisters, brothers make you go back to your 1.0 era of, you know, being a child and being immature. But as an adult and in the workplace, who does that? How do you talk to your co-stars that way? That just doesn't make any sense. And it's the byproduct of poor parenting. If your parents didn't teach you how you conduct yourself, right? How in the workplace, you know, just overall, there's proper behavior in certain places and then improper behavior in others. And I mean, her text messages scream high school cafeteria catfight. You're in your 30s. That's pretty embarrassing. But that's what happens when you don't parent properly. Your kids, they go through pain in life. And Blake Lively seems to be starting her path of learning the hard way.
Absolutely true. And let's also look at it from this angle. Maybe on the course of her working with Justin Baldoni on this movie, and when they began, she sort of thought like his big name and all. Then maybe she and her dragons did couple of research and all, and discovered that he's not that big name. So I mean, now we get to see the hostile takeover and all that, because nobody freaking knows you in this industry, and you've not done lots of work, a couple of work like others in the industry. Because I bet you if it were another director or another producer, she wouldn't have, or this wouldn't have happened. But because she saw that lots of people really do not know Justin Baldoni, so obviously they can do this, and nobody, he would suck it up and he would not say nothing, which he did in the first instance. But coming to see that they are fighting back, okay, now it's a problem, because you have to flip the script, like he is the problem, so blame it all on him. Because look at it this way, look exactly both comparison, look at the interviews, or the way she treat people on interview, or the way she treat people that are not on the exact same level as her. It is giving high school mean girl. And explain to me what brought about the dragons, what brought about the husband in this scene or in this movie. It's not even the husband's movie, but why was he there? So you see how she treats people that she's not going to benefit from, because obviously Colin Hoover have got see the sequel, so obviously now I can benefit from this. It's going to be a mutual interest. Let me, I don't know, buy my way. Maybe I don't know how what communication they both have that would make her to say, well, okay, or maybe she marketed to say, well, the other sequel, it will look really good if I portray in it. Lots of people would enjoy it because big name, the husband big name, dragons big name, and all that marketing to give you more money and all. And then over to the cast, maybe potentially promising them thriving careers, big name, and all that. So I mean, look at it. Just look at the patterns right here. Look at it. It's evident. Like the way she treat people that she's not gonna benefit from, or that don't have big name or are not as big as her. You can see it. I don't know. Like it's at this point, it seems like lots of people are not paying attention to the pattern. But take a step back to pay close attention to her patterns. You would see it. Let me know what you think.
Once we're back, there's one more thing I want to talk about from Justin Baldoni's lawsuit against Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. I haven't heard anyone mention this yet, but something that I thought was so funny that they added in their lawsuit. When they agreed to show the version of the movie It Ends With Us that tested higher with audiences, there was like text message exchanges, talking about the results and how Justin scored higher with the key demographics. But then they looked at Blake Lively's results and they acknowledged that Blake Lively, the only category that Blake Lively scored higher with in her version of It Ends With Us compared to Justin Baldoni's, was men like, 20 to 40 or something like that. And then in the text exchange, they're like, well, yeah, because Blake's version had more of Blake in it and men like to look at Blake, and that's completely not the point of our movie. And honestly, I thought that was so funny, but also I think that fact, and I think that's what Blake Lively is. Like, it makes sense. She only cares about like the white male gaze. And I've said it, in my lives, but I'm going to say it here while I can on TikTok, although I just feel like we're getting played with on this app. But anyways, Blake is the Valley Girl version of a Southern Belle. She's Scarlett O'Hara if she were born in California. And that's why she's ruining her own reputation, because she's never cared about the opinions of other women, other marginalized communities. And now we're in an age where, like, because of this app, women and marginalized people can share their perspectives and go viral, and their perspectives can influence our own. Because I didn't know much about Blake Lively. I had heard her name in passing. I remember that whole incident with the Baby Got Back lyrics on her Instagram post. Sir Mix-a-Lot, that's what I was trying to say. And I do vaguely remember something or reading something on Facebook about her getting married on a plantation. And I knew she was in Gossip Girl. I never watched Gossip Girl. I just didn't know much about her. But just based on my very little exposure to her, she just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But now hearing people on this app talk about how she's problematic, and just hearing, just being radicalized on this app in general, I'm like, yeah, like getting married on a plantation is... we should call it out for what it is and really discourage people from doing it. Because why do plantations even still exist if they're not museums? In case you're wondering, like, why you don't like Blake's version of It Ends With Us, pay attention to that kind of stuff, because it does actually make sense. I know they did end up putting some of Justin's version back into it just because, they wanted the movie to be good. But honestly, like, now knowing what I know, I want to see not just Justin's version of It Ends With Us, I want to see Blake Lively's original version before they put Justin's stuff in it. I just want to see what her version was, because I'm sure I'll laugh at how ridiculous it is.
Obviously, this just prove or goes to tell you that she really does not care about anybody other than herself. And obviously nobody is going to work with her again, because one, if we don't share the exact same vision, I don't see the reason why we're working together. It's just that simple, because nobody will want to employ somebody who is difficult, or who is going to give them issues in their job or their project, and or whatever. So obviously people want to take the best bet to have peace, and nobody wants to work in a toxic environment. But I'll love your thoughts and your contribution in the comments below, obviously.